Good morning, oracles. Well, Tesla finished a little red yesterday. It happens. We thought it was going to be green. It was looking really strong early in the day and then faded off as we went through the day. But it happens. Well, let's see how it trades going forward. But looking at the future of what's going on with Tesla and where they're going, we're going to start tapping into the Tesla Silicon Valley interview part 3 about FSD today and looking at the future of where Tesla is going and what this could potentially mean for our portfolios. Just really excited me. So I'm going to go over a lot of what they discussed about the FSD. I'll put the link to the entire interview down below. It's about an hour and 15 minutes long. So you guys can check it out down there if you want to watch the entire thing. So getting into FSD, they asked Elon, hey, why is it that, this issue is so much more complicated? And you kept on saying, it'll be out this year, it'll be out next year, it'll be out next year. And we're still at a point where it's still not fully out yet. And it was because, there were so many roadblocks and Elon underestimated the scope of how big this project was. And he said, discussing it when it comes down to radar and ultrasonics, they had to remove them because they were actually roadblocks for them. Because what ended up happening was, you'd have radar and the radar information wasn't always consistently coming in. And then it would argue with the vision and be like, oh, well, which one do you go with? And it ended up being a crutch because you couldn't get true neural net information coming in that you needed because radar was blocking it. And so what they ended up finding was they took away the radar and they had to kind of redo everything because, they were really relying on radar and didn't even realize that they were relying on that radar. And they said that, because of this, other automotive manufacturers and anybody else trying to solve FSD, nobody else is doing it with vision only. And they're going to be a minimum of 5 years behind because they have not hit the point where they realize that radar is actually impeding the progress that they need to make to really truly solve FSD. And because nobody else has gotten there, by the time they figure it out, Tesla's already going to have it completely solved. Tesla's going to have FSD solved by the time other people realize that radar is in the way. And by that time, Tesla's going to have FSD and full self-driving vehicles and robotaxis on the road, and other people are going to have to either license it from Tesla or figure out how to really quickly solve it themselves, or they're not going to be able to survive because FSD is going to be the future. And what's going to end up happening is down the road, there's going to be a huge transition when we go from full self-driving vehicles with humans on the road to just a full entire fleet of just fully autonomous vehicles. If the entire fleet is fully autonomous, accidents will be nearly impossible to happen. You will almost never, ever, ever see an accident with an entire fleet of fully autonomous vehicles. The problem is it's going to take a very long time for us to get there. I mean, heck, it's going to take at least 10, 15, 20, maybe even longer years to get just, all electric vehicles on the road. You're still going to have a lot of ICE vehicles out there. Many of these ICE vehicles are not going to have full self-driving in them. So going along this pattern, it's going to be a very long time before we have a full fleet of autonomous vehicles. So in that transition with still having human drivers on the road and autonomy on the road, you're going to have to worry about, human drivers still getting in the way and the unpredictable nature of a human. So because of all of this, I personally anticipate what's going to happen is we're going to get to a point where full self-driving and fully autonomous vehicles are deemed to be so much safer than humans that we're actually going to have a lot higher restrictions put on human drivers than we will on autonomous vehicles, because humans are actually going to be the ones that are creating more accidents than autonomous vehicles. So we'll see a lot more regulations coming in when it comes to human drivers. Maybe you have to have, all these vehicles are going to have driving scores like Tesla has right now. And if your score isn't over a certain amount, you're not going to be allowed to have a license. Things like that might end up happening. Now, this is just my insights to the future, but knowing how regulations are going to work, that could end up being the situation. And, I don't want to be one that's going to say humans aren't going to be allowed to drive, because that would be like saying humans shouldn't be allowed to own guns. We're not going to get into that discussion right now. I'm not a gun fan, but I am totally on board with the freedom of people being allowed to own them. should not be an issue. And it's going to be the same thing in the future. People should be allowed to drive if they want to drive, but we're going to end up having a lot higher regulations on them because that's just how the government is going to end up working. And of course, when we hit the point where full self-driving becomes a reality, and you basically as an automotive maker need to have vehicles with full self-driving in them, if nobody else has it solved except for Tesla, Tesla of course will license it out to people. But most other competitors aren't going to want to basically give their competition money, as in give Tesla money to be able to use their product, because that's just going to be helping Tesla out. But as Elon also said, the hard part about full self-driving is really a selfless task that they are working on, because 90% of the people that they save aren't going to be thanking them because they don't even know that they were being saved. Yet the 10% of people who aren't saved by this are going to sue Tesla. And Elon said that's just something they're going to deal with, but to them it is totally worth it to be able to save all of these lives and saving people from dying, saving people from getting into huge injuries. It's totally worth it for them. So they're going to do it. They're going to pursue it because this needs to be done. And Elon made the analogy, it's going to be very similar to like an elevator operator. Sure, you could have a human in an elevator, flipping this massive breaker switch to operate the elevator up and down, but what is the consistent precision of an elevator operator who's human stopping the elevator exactly where it needs to be on the floor? The consistency and precision of a computer doing it is significantly better than a human doing it. When we get to the point of full autonomy, that's going to be the same exact situation. We're going to have a situation where a computer driving a car is going to be so much more precise and better than a human driving that we're going to wonder why humans are even driving anymore, because what's the point when cars are so much better and safer than a human? And Elon did say, and any of you who out there who are on FSD beta, let me know in the comments below what you guys have seen with FSD beta and the progress, because obviously the progress is very important. But Elon said for anybody who has FSD beta, it now is becoming much more apparent that it's not about whether it's actually going to be solved or not. FSD will be solved. Now it's just a matter of when. They have so many auto labelers that are out there. They have a team of 1,500 humans that are doing labeling, and then they have the auto labeler, which multiplies that by a factor of 100 to speed things up. So it's basically like having 150,000 labelers out there making all of this happen to update everything on a regular basis. So the speed of which it's going at is significant. They didn't even talk about Dojo or if that's working at all in the favor with this, but that's just what's going to help it even more in the future as they go forward in progressing all of this. So again, Elon said, no one's even close to catching Tesla right now. They're not even within 5 years of catching Tesla. And a lot of the complaints that they get from the competition are because none of them have it solved and none of them can figure it out. So they have to complain about Tesla and the full self-driving and the progress that they are making on it to try and hold Tesla back so that they can try and catch up, because they can't figure it out. So this whole conversation about FSD just really excited me. My friend Tony has been telling me about his FSD, and we went on a trip, and this is a while ago, so I'm not even sure how many versions ago it was, but even he had noticed, going through roundabouts, that the progress had made, it was significant because it was able to get around it without any problems. And so that was months ago, and I'll get to see him hopefully this weekend, and maybe Tony, if you're watching, we'll take the car out for a spin again maybe, and see what's going on, with the progress, and you can tell me all about it. But you guys let me know what the progress is that you have seen, and how long do you think it's going to take before it really truly does become fully solved? Because again, it's not a question of if, it's when. And if Tesla is going to be putting out robo-taxis in 2024, that means that Elon is really confident that it's going to be solved before then. So let me know if you guys think it's actually going to be solved before then, because honestly, this is what the game changer is. And even Elon said himself in another interview that, without full self-driving and full autonomy, it's not going to matter. As a vehicle automotive maker, you need to have this in the future. So, obviously this is what huge focus is for Elon. And he said the two biggest things that are taking up his brain space right now are full self-driving and getting Starship to space. So that's how big this is for him. So obviously this is a major focus for them to get solved. And it'll be awesome to see when it actually does get solved. Because when I get my Cybertruck, I want to make sure I've got that full self-driving in there and see how this thing works. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, I do have a Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.